Good morning, dear students, and welcome to today's session. So, on your demand, today we are going to discuss the play. And as you know, in your syllabus, you have only one play, that is The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare, which is a romantic comedy. So before we start the play, today we are not going to start with the text in any ways. We will be just having a brief introductory session about the play. So this introductory session will surely help you in understanding the play in a better way. So first of all, let us discuss that what a play is. So if you understand in a layman's term, there is a difference between a story and a play. Prose, a story, is narrated, whereas a play is enacted. So a play is basically meant to be staged, performed on a stage. And this particular play by William Shakespeare comes under the genre of a romantic comedy. Now, what do we mean by comedy? A comedy is generally defined as a play where the characters and their follies and discomfitures entertain us. So, in every character, there is some flaws. They face or they go through some level of discomforts in their life. So the characters, their follies, their discomfitures, they primarily aim to entertain us. The primary purpose is to amuse the readers, amuse the audience. And in such a play, no great disaster happens to any of the characters, and the play ends in a happy note as the main characters achieve what they aspire in their life. So there is no great disaster happening to any of the characters in such plays. And very importantly, the play should end on a happy note. That is, it must have a happy ending. And this happy ending is denoted by the characters achieving those things that they had aspired for in their life. So the audience of the play or the readers, they pleasurably engage themselves while watching or reading the play. Though the comedy's chief aim, primary aim of a comedy is to amuse the readers, but besides this amusing factor, there is another function that is usually associated with the comedy, and this is to correct the vices of people. Now, in every society, there are people, and in those people, there are certain flaws, there are certain vices in the society. So, a play also aims at correcting those vices prevalent in the society. And comedy is, in that way, is supposed to work as a medicine on the audience and the society, as the people, by watching that play, they come to know about their follies and vices, and therefore they can correct themselves before any disaster takes place. Now, before we start with the this play, The Merchant of Venice, we need to understand that what a classical comedy is. What do we mean by classical? Tradition. So what a classical comedy is? So the classical writers, the classical dramatists, they wrote some comedies, and the way they wrote the comedies, that became a framework for writing comedies. So the comedies which were written by the classical dramatists, they include certain essential features, and these features are: first one, a comedy should be realistic, and it is usually on people who are from lower ranks of society. So comedy is realistic, it must be dealing with a realistic theme, and it must include characters who are taken from the lower ranks of the society. Second, the aim of a comedy is satiric in nature. That is, it must aim to correct the vices and follies of people through satire. So the vices which are prevalent in the society, the follies of the people, they are ridiculed and exposed in an amusing way, so that the audience can laugh, can entertain themselves, and at the same time they can also learn while watching that play. And that is how they can get rid of those follies, those vices. Third, usually the tragic and the comic elements are not intermingled in classical comedies. Now when you write a tragedy, all the elements in a tragedy should be tragic. That is what classical dramatists used to do. So the tragic elements and the comic elements should not be intermingled. If it is a comedy, it must contain only the comic elements, and if it is a tragedy, it must contain only the tragic elements. Fourth one, the three unities must be strictly observed in any comedy. Now what are those three unities? We refer to unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. Now what do they mean? Unity of time means that the time frame of a play should not be more than 24 hours. It should not exceed more than a day. All the actions should be concluded within the time period of one day. Unity of place means the setting of play should be only one place. So all the actions on the play should be throughout one particular setting, one place. And unity of action means that there should be only one story or only one plot presented throughout the play. Now these are the features of a classical comedy. But when we come to Shakespeare as well as these contemporary writers, they in fact went beyond these classical norms of comedy, and they reinvented a new type of comedy which came to be known as romantic comedy. Now in a romantic comedy, the romantic and the comic elements are intermingled together to delight the audience. The main motive of such a play is not to educate but to entertain. So the main objective is to entertain the audience or the theater going people, but at the same time they also educate the people. So this type of romantic comedy, it developed by the Elizabethan dramatist, and it is based on prose romances. Generally a romantic comedy deals with a love affair where there is a beautiful and wise heroine, often disguised as a man, and this heroine overcomes all difficulties to get her love, and the play ends in a happy note, that is usually a marriage. So what do we understand here? That a romantic comedy is a kind of comedy in which the romantic elements are intermingled with the comic elements. The romantic elements delight and enchant the audience, and in such a play it appeals to the fantastic elements where there is a romantic setup and everything ends up happily, and the love between the hero and the heroine will achieve success in the form of marriage, and these hero and heroine, they overcome all their hurdles, all their difficulties to achieve their success in love, that is by getting united in the strong bond of marriage. So this is what a romantic comedy is, and the Merchant of Venice essentially falls into the category of romantic comedy. And when you see the Merchant of Venice, you will see that Shakespeare has not formed all the features of the classical comedy. He has deviated a bit from the classical comedy. Like for Shakespeare, in this particular play, does not observe the three unities, that is unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. When we talk of unity of time, you will see that the Merchant of Venice does not strictly adhere to the unity of time, because the play extends over a time period of 3 months, and the action of the play is not completed just in one day. The idea of unity of place is also violated because the action of the play shifts from one place to another. When you read the play, you will come to know that one particular part of the play is staged in Venice, which is a commercial trade center, and the other part of the play is staged in Belmont. So there is shifting from there is shift in the scene of action from one place to another. And when we talk of the plot, you will see that Shakespeare has not observed the unity of plot as well. Why? Because you will see that in this particular play, Shakespeare deals with the different plots, which we'll be discussing under the plot structure of the play. So you will see that there are two main plots, there are two main stories that runs throughout the play. One is the casket plot and the other one is the bond plot, and at the same time there are many other subplots in the play as well. So he developed a particular new form of comedy which came to be known as romantic comedy. So thank you. In the next video we'll be discussing about the plot structure of the play.